Galaxian. Now where you been? You'll make the days roll on by, blasting bugs out of the sky. Well, you know deep down that it's gonna be a hummer, 'cause nobody's hotter than Atari this summer. Nobody's hotter than Atari this summer.
This summer, the really hot video games come from Atari. We've got Centipede, Ms. Pac-Man, Vanguard, and Galaxian. If you thought it was going to be just another summer, Atari is going to turn your head around.
The hot names, the hot games, the hot deals. Yeah, it's gonna be a hummer, 'cause nobody's hotter than Atari this summer. Nobody's hotter than Atari this summer. No!
Welcome back, everyone, to the amazing Atari Aficionado. This, of course, is part 2 of me continuing to show all of the epic loose 2600 carts that I have come into fruition with over the past year almost. So I'm just going to dive right in and continue. Alright, so up next is Space Shuttle, A Journey into Space. This is one of the Activision Blue labels, which I try my best to do research on. I'm not entirely sure why they went with these. Some of them just got them. This is from 1983. You don't normally see a lot of blue labels around, and I feel like I especially don't normally see Space Shuttle. This is, for all intents and purposes, very similar to a simulation type shuttle game with other things going on. I'm not going to lie, I had a lot of trouble playing this. It definitely needs to be re-examined at some point, and hopefully it may get its own review. It just depends. Obviously, I've been saying that now for a while, and there's a lot that need their own review. Up next, I finally acquired the other Star Wars game. I should have dug it out for the video, but if you hadn't seen any of Season 1, go back and watch it after this video. But I did acquire the Jedi, I think it was called Jedi Battle, I believe, and like Luke Skywalker's on the cover. Well, this one is The Empire Strikes Back. Shout out to the Art Winch. I now own this. Label isn't the best. I mean, it's pretty good, but it's a little banged up on the bottom there because it started to come off. I had to reglue it. This is by Parker Brothers, so another publisher that I don't talk about a whole lot, but they did obviously like Frogger and Q*bert and games like that. So very cool. I now own both Star Wars games, so that's another nice little bucket off the check off the bucket list. Moving along, speaking of space, this is Space Combat. This is another one that I'm drawing a little bit of a blank on just because there's so many space-themed games. I believe this is a flying shooter. If I'm not mistaken, I think this one, I think you fly around the screen similar to Defender. So hopefully I'm saying that correctly. At some point, I'd love to sit down and like do a playthrough of like a bunch of space games and then a bunch of like, you know, a bunch of flying games and then a bunch of like shooting games and just kind of, you know, like maybe I'll get every space game game together, like every space-themed game together, and I'll do some kind of video on it. But anyway, this is the Sears Telegames line. This is from 1978, so a very early one from way back in the day. Up next is a game that somehow fell through so essentially what I meant by fell through was I did play all these games. I did sit down and try to play each one as best as I could and get a little bit of idea about what they were about so I could talk about them. Somehow this game fell through my grasp and I did not actually play it. So I had to watch a review of this game before the video. He's probably not going to watch this, but shout out to the great Akbalung Game Reviews. I love your stuff. You are one of the reasons that I do Atari videos. You've really inspired me to just show off my stuff and talk about it. But this is by Sega, who also did Track Scan, if I'm not mistaken. And that game is also really wacky. But I do plan on doing a review of Buck Rogers. I believe since this came out in '83 that this is more of a... this is based on the movie that came out, I think, a year or two before this. This is Planet of Zoom. This is that game. Now, I need to double check if there was different Buck Rogers games, because I could be mistaken. But anyway, another wacky looking cart. This definitely deserves more attention, but I just don't want to spend that much time on it. If anybody knows more about Buck Rogers, leave it in the comment section below. I love when you guys school me, because it's helpful, you know what I mean? I don't like to pretend to know everything, and I'd rather you guys help me if you know a little bit more about it. Speaking of movie-based games, this is a heavy hitter for sure. Huge check off my bucket list. I got Activision's Ghostbusters finally on the Atari 2600. I'm a huge Ghostbusters fan. I own multiple copies on VHS. I own the vinyl. I own the cassette tape. Tons of t-shirts. All kinds of cool memorabilia. Some of the toys. But yeah, I would love to own Ghostbusters on like every format if possible, like on the Nintendo and the Sega Genesis and the Game Boy and all that. So that's another big project. Who knows if I'll ever complete it. Of course, this asshole Jim once again, and wrote some other shit on there too. It says something looks like a heart. I don't even know what the hell that's all about. But yeah, some more bullshit label damage. But otherwise, this is in incredible condition. So if it wasn't for that little Jim, it'd be perfect. Moving along to yet another really weird publisher. This is Zygmag, or Zymag. And this is Disaster. This is another game I believe is expensive because you don't see it around a whole lot. Once again, I got this for almost nothing. I got lucky. The label is like absolutely atrocious, but I can't complain because you don't normally see this game around. This game is essentially kind of like those people that spin the strings and they have or not the strings, they go like this. They rub skinny little poles, and there's plates on top that are spinning, and that's essentially what you do in this game, and you got to move really quickly, and it's a lot of fun, and I like that game a lot. Totally recommend it if you can find it. Just don't break the bank, of course. Speaking of breaking things, here's Breakout. Once again, I may have talked about this game and or showed this game already, but this, the only reason why I'm showing it is because it's a label upgrade, and boy, is that a label upgrade. Look at that. Really awesome. Everybody knows Breakout. It's an awesome game. If you haven't played it, you gotta play it. Speaking of games you gotta play, and speaking of random publishers, once again, this is Teles's. This is the same people that did that Cosmic Creeps game. This is Fast Food. Another bizarre game. Tons of fun though. You are a purple set of lips, and you're eating. You're supposed to eat junk food like hamburgers and cheeseburgers, hot dogs, pizzas, beer, which is probably root beer, French fries, pickles, milkshakes, chocolate bars. I think are in here. But you have to watch for rotten purple pickles because they'll make you barf. And if you barf, that's it, game over. But the best part of that game is each time you like complete a level or whatever, or make it to a checkpoint, it says you are getting fatter. So what a thing to tell a gamer as they're playing. Speaking of weird games, here is Coconuts, also by Telesis. Hopefully I'm saying that right. This has got some of the greatest graphics I feel like I've ever seen in a game. Really, really great looking, but just really weird. I didn't really find a whole lot of reviews about this game, so I definitely plan on doing a review of it. Essentially, there's this monkey throwing coconuts at you, and you just need to avoid him, and then he begins throwing them quicker, and then you just... It's kind of like the opposite of Kaboom, like you play the character on the bottom instead of the guy up top. So, really, I mean, it is exactly like Kaboom, I'm sorry. You're collecting... Well, no, it is the opposite, because you don't want to collect the bombs. In Kaboom, you want to collect the bombs. Here, you don't want to get hit by the bombs and or coconuts. But it looks great. I definitely need to do a review of that. Moving on, we're talking about Mythicon, another bizarre game publisher. You just don't see this out there a whole lot. Another beautiful looking cart. This game just flat out sucks. Really boring. It's got great label artwork. Really awesome looking. Great name, of course. Firefly. But just really, really poor attempts at just a game that could be fun and is not. Okay, these two I'm just going to put together because I don't have a whole lot to say about them. But here I have Activision Tennis. I needed to pick that up. And then here I have Basic Math by Atari. This is like from the original black box days, I guess you can call it, when it just said game program on there. So I did not have it. I need it. Essentially, this is just a math game to help you, with your math skills. And tennis is exactly as it says. It's a tennis game. It's actually a tennis game. I'm not a big sports fan, but it's a solid tennis game for sure. This one, if you follow me on any of my social media sites, I recently teased. Well, not so recently. By the time this video comes out, I guess I teased this about a month ago. But I got Rampage. We're talking Rampage. Obviously, the new movie just came out. So I figured this would make a cool social media post. Some fuckhead drew red, like colored in Activision, and then also wrote his name. It looks like it says Thomas. So Thomas, if you're watching this, screw you. Also, something was written on the gorilla's arm. And I should remember the gorilla's name. Why can't I remember the gorilla's name? It's a girl's name. Oh, man, I can't think of it. Write the name of the gorilla from Rampage in the comment section. Somebody, please. But, yes, Rampage. Not a great game. Not a great port. But it's pretty impressive that they were able to get this on the 2600. Definitely a late game for 1986. Definitely. And that one, yeah, of course, that's by Activision. Alright, and then these three games, I'm just going to kind of put them together for time purposes. So here I have US Games. I haven't talked about US Games in a while. US Games publisher, USG. Here I have Word Zapper, Commando Raid, and Towering Inferno. And of course, these have very weird slots on them. One thing I will say about all of these games that really pisses me off, I don't know what the deal is that US Games did to their carts, but these are extremely hard to get in and out of the system compared to all the other games. I think they're just shaped weird. I don't think they shaped them properly, and it makes it hard for the Atari to read these games. I kind of had to fiddle with them a lot to get them to work. Towering Inferno is pretty much as the name suggests. You're putting out fires in this giant building, running around from level to level. Word Zapper was actually a lot of fun. This is the one that I had the most trouble getting to work, but I did get it to work, and you essentially are shown a word, and then the alphabet comes up on screen, and you have to shoot the letters and remember what the clue was or what the word was. So, cool game. And then, of course, Commando Raid, very similar to sort of like the opposite. It's like, what is that? Missile Command. Very, very similar to Missile Command, except you're shooting parachuters that are coming down to save your city. Okay, and then these two, actually, let's see here. I'll put together these two Activision games. Just to kind of speed things up. So I have Freeway and Keystone Capers. Freeway, of course, very similar to Frogger. This is a great two-player game. Lots of fun. And then, of course, Keystone Capers. You're running around the house and you are collecting the items, I think, before they get stolen. This is a game that I also had trouble getting to work. So I'm going to try and mess around with this cart, clean it a little bit more, and hopefully get that working better. I'm going to put these two together to save some time. Here I have Video Chess on the Atari 2600. It's exactly as the name suggests. And then I have a Sears Telegames Target Fun, where you're essentially just shooting things with a gun. And there's like the planes and submarines. There's various game levels. So I did not have those, and I needed to pick those up. And then finally, rounding out the end of the box, I'm finally done, is Absolute Entertainment's Title Match Pro Wrestling, a game that I feel like I've never seen anywhere. I never see anybody talk about it. Really exciting that I found this. It's in not too bad a shape. So that is yet another game on from Activision. I'm sorry, this is yet another publisher that I have not talked about yet. And hopefully I'll find more from them. It looks great. It's a little tough to play. The controls are a little weird. But it's pretty solid for a wrestling game on the 2600. Then there is Space Cavern. This is by Apollo, who also made that luggage game that I talked about in an earlier video. Sorry if I seem like I'm rushing. I just feel like this video is pretty long already, so I'm trying to round out the end. But this will get its own review. I loved this game. You're a person. You're literally a human at the bottom of the screen, and you're shooting things coming at you from left to right, and as well top down. Awesome game, awesome cover, really neat, and I need to get the box and manual for this game. This has a great story as well. And finally, the final loose pickup for the time being is a 20th Century Fox video game. This is Revenge of the Beefsteak Tomatoes on the 2600. What a game to end on. So, woo! My goodness. So that is that. Very random game indeed. I still don't quite get it. I need to play it some more. So I can't really say a lot about it. It will get its own review eventually. So there you have it, ladies and gents. That is all of it. Hopefully this video wasn't too long or boring. Hopefully I got the majority of my facts correct. Okay, and to end the video, of course, I'd like to show something Atari related. So, you know, just something a part of, you know, the neat pickups and random things I've been getting. I wasn't sure when to talk about this, so I'm just going to show it as a bonus item. This is, does anybody know what this is? This is an Atari Jaguar controller from the 90s when they tried to re-enter the video game industry of the early 90s. This was meant to compete against, I want to say, the Super Nintendo, the Sega Genesis, the TurboGrafx might have been out at that point. I don't know if the Neo Geo was around at that point, but you know, it was pretty late in the game for them. But very similar to their other controllers. You have your keypad here, so some games would require a layout, and then of course you have your D-pad and your buttons. It's actually a very comfortable controller, and it's a lot lighter than it looks. I love the, you know, how Atari is just written all over it. It's really cool. They obviously have a different kind of plug, which was like a special proprietary one for the Jaguar. I do not have a Jaguar system yet. This is the only Jaguar item that I own, so I had to pick it up. I was told that the controller works. Hopefully it does. I'll find out once I get a system. But it's tough to come across the systems in my neck of the woods, not to mention they're usually pretty pricey. So I thought everyone would enjoy seeing that if you haven't actually seen one before. And even if you don't have the money for it or you don't care, if you do happen to come across it, just pick it up and just feel it and mess around with it. It's really, really comfortable. It's really wild how comfortable this is. There's like somewhere to put all your fingers, so I love it. So anyway, that is the cool Atari bonus item. This has been part 2 of the crazy pickups. Once again, hopefully this video wasn't too long. Make sure to leave comments. If you have questions about anything, I'll get back to you. So once again, this has been the amazing Atari Aficionado, and I'll be seeing you guys around. Take care.
Something's coming up the plumbing for Luigi's in a bind. Giant turtles out to get him, creepy crabs are right behind. Fighter flies, jeepers shikes, they're all coming out the pipes.
Mario, where are you? It's Atari Mario Brothers with Mario from Donkey Kong, his brother Luigi, and lots of crazy creatures. And it's twice the fun when 2 play at once, because you need all the help you can get. Mario, where are you? Mario Brothers, new from Atari.